thanks for being here today for our second Alumni Spotlight. We are really excited to have Dr. Justin Lowe with us today and Marlee Krieger. I'll give you guys both a short little introduction, but first I just wanted to say we're really excited to be doing this alumni series to connect with some of our GWHT alums, see where are they now, how they were impacted by their time with our center. So we're joined today by Dr. Justin Lowe, like I said. He shared with me before this interview that after grad school and a short postdoctoral stint, he joined Chevron as a data scientist right around the time that energy companies started hiring data scientists. And he was one of the first people that they really took a chance on from a different industry. So that's pretty cool. He started as an individual contributor for a few years, and over the last 7 years, he's helped grow the data science and analytics competency in the company. He now leads the Data Science and Analytics organization across the Global Technical Center for Chevron, spanning from data science, machine learning, engineering, and business intelligence. So that's really awesome. Justin, thank you so much for being here with us. Marlee, again, is the executive director at the Center for Global Women's Health Technologies, and I am the communication specialist at the Center for Global Women's Health Technologies. So I'm super excited to chat with you guys today. I have some questions for you both. So are you guys ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome, perfect. So Justin, my first question is for you. I obviously just gave you a little bit of an introduction, but tell me more about what you're up to these days.
So I've been spending a lot more time with my wife and 4 kids because I've been working from home, right? So it's been just right at over a year now with the pandemic, and so personally, that's really what's going on with life. And I get my vaccine next week, so that's cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
but work-wise, I'm really in a pretty exciting role, leading the data science and analytics organization at Chevron. Right after my time at Duke, like you mentioned, I took this data scientist job here, and nobody knew what it was. I read the job description. It's like, quantitative background, know some math and stats, and yeah, I can do that job. And so there was a lot of buzz, and some resistance, I think, because it's a company built with a ton of engineers and scientists, and they don't like black boxes, or they don't like buzzwords. So we were really educating the business on what data science was and the methodologies and the techniques under its umbrella. So, all the things that we demystified, like artificial intelligence and machine learning and various optimization techniques. And so the exciting part was that we had this small team of just 3 to 4 people, operated like a startup, but then with the safety net and comfort of a large corporation. And so I had a really long leash and a lot of support from management to go after these kind of low-hanging fruit and prove out value over time. Over the last 7 or 8 years, we're able to build some really strong data science organizational capability, and probably one of the best in the industry, to be able to really sort of move from like research projects to really operationalize things and change decisions and change business workflows. And my responsibility and scope kind of grew over time. Right now, my organization is about 130 employees with about 90 contractors. And so we have a mix of these data scientists and software engineers and BI analysts, folks who do work globally across upstream, midstream, and downstream businesses. And so I'm in this industry that's pretty complex, and maybe has a bad rap for not being well understood. I feel like our team is making a real difference to increase returns and lower carbon. So that's been a big focus lately. So basically every single initiative that we take on is geared towards improving efficiency, and so thereby lowering emissions and lowering our carbon footprint. And so we're doing something that helps with our health, safety, environment department, and it's also a rewarding place for our employees to be able to meet the energy demands of not just the US, but of the world. And so we help enable human progress in developing countries by bringing them energy in a more cost-effective way through the use of analytics.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. So much of that is really, really exciting. I love to hear that. It's awesome. Well, now you just told me what you're up to these days, but let's flash backwards a little bit. Why don't you tell me about your time at the lab? What was the focus of your study? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, so gosh, it's been a while. So when I was in graduate school, we were just in the early days of creating a more cost-effective spectroscopic imaging devices, kind of going from being able to extract optical properties from a broadband light source and CCD cameras, and doing phantom studies, and to being able to extract these same optical properties with a lot cheaper LEDs and photodiodes. So a lot of kind of cross university and med center collaborations, and so just to prove out that hey, you can take some of the great work that Greg Palmer and Melissa that they started, and to be able to say, okay, here's the next iteration of it, and how do you take this potential concept and prototype it so that you can bring more cost-effective technologies to for global health applications, right? So
yeah, absolutely. Marlee, looking back, do you have any reflections about Justin's time at the lab?
oh dear.
Is this when you ask my fondest reflection, or
feel free to say whatever your reflections are?
Well, so Justin was definitely a person who impacted my life both professionally and personally. I think my most fondest recollection of Justin would be best represented if I shared my screen. So I'll do so right now. So right here, are you seeing my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So Justin is an amazing researcher, and he did some excellent work on the BRP breast imaging device. That was a collaboration with Nan Joker's group. And he really did some amazing work there. During that time, I also had a baby, and Justin came to my house within a few weeks of my son being born. And so that's the picture that you see here. And right after I took this photo, my son threw up all over Justin. So that was a really fun memory. And Justin, he rolled with the punches. He didn't even blink an eye about having vomit all over his clothes. He just kept on holding that awesome little baby. But there's more. So shortly after my son was born, Justin had a son of his own. And so we brought our two little ones together frequently. So this is a picture of my son, Arish, giving Justin's first son, Jordan, a big hug outside of Tutti Frutti, where they had frozen yogurt frequently together. It was great because it was really healthy. You could have frozen yogurt and then fresh fruit on the top. But speaking of fresh fruit, our children also went berry picking together. And so they were in a field picking berries. They'd eat a few. We had to pay by the pound, but luckily they couldn't eat very much in the field, so they didn't lose out money. They also spent time together watching shows. Here, I just love how their feet are crossed in the same way right here. They were really just great buddies, Arish and Jordan.
Yeah.
Here they are holding hands during a snack. Just awesome little buddies. Here they are looking inside the frozen yogurt place.
They're like, I want the yogurt. I'm ready.
They really did. They enjoyed their time together. And then I'll just show you one more. The torture's almost over. Here they are, both their smiling faces. So I really do think my fondest memories are really of bringing our families together and bonding outside of the lab. I think that really creates a strong infrastructure with people that you can trust professionally. So I think that really was the most important thing, was bonding and then being able to count on each other when we had to come into the workplace professionally. Thank you for letting me embarrass you, Justin. Most of these photos, I think, were taken by you.
That was amazing. That was awesome.
Oh man, that was amazing. That so precious. Every single one of those photos. That's great. Yeah. I definitely love the family camaraderie spirit that exists at the lab. So it's nice to know that that's an enduring trait. speaking of things enduring, Justin, I have kind of a double question for you. So what do you still use from your time at the lab / what advice would you give to new or current GWHT grad students?
That's a really good question. So I certainly am not using, biophotonics anymore, but a lot of the things I learned in academia and just life learning certainly have made me who I am today and have really helped me in my career so far. I mean, you spend a long time there, right, as part of your life. So, it's really valuable. So I think with biomedical engineering being interdisciplinary in nature, our work in the lab needed collaborators across the med center, electrical engineering, and even collaborators across different geographies in the US and internationally. And that's really helped in my current role. There's a lot of other grad experiences that my current, colleagues that, seem to be very siloed in nature. And so in the real world, you have so many connection points with people that it's really important to understand that we deploy technology through people in a lot of ways. Things I definitely still use as an individual contributor coming out my time there was understanding of Monte Carlo and various optimization algorithms. We still use a lot of genetic algorithms on my team, and the technical details, are really important, right? So there's a lot of managers who've been away from those technical details for so long that they don't have enough technical content knowledge to be able to essentially, manage at the right level to make the technical decisions for the organization. And so I feel like I've been able to essentially become a student for life and learn to stay abreast of technology changes in the area that I lead. And another thing that's, I would say, really helped me in academia is that I learned to grow really thick skin. So going to conferences and presenting out your progress for your research, sometimes it can be pretty brutal, right? And so your work gets critiqued and you recycle things over and over and over again. And so in my work now, I've actually learned to anticipate what those questions are going to be and then address those before they even come up. So I learned that also credibility is really important, and I need to be confident in what I say. And if I don't know something, I shouldn't just make it up. So there's like a culture of making it up as you go. And in the business world, some people make it pretty far in industry doing it that way. But to really make an impact and be the influencer that actually creates change, I feel like my time there was a really valuable learning experience and made me a better leader today in my work. So
yeah, absolutely. Marlee, I think I know the answer to this question, but do you think that's something that our current students could relate to?
Yes, absolutely, Ashley. I think I'll say two things related to what Justin has said. And I think this is what I was alluding to with the pictures and what Justin was saying with the collaborators. I think sometimes we get so deep in our research and the data that we're mining or analyzing that we forget that sometimes the greatest impact can be through formation of relationships. And that's within a team, with your peers, with your mentors, with leaders, with your collaborators, with patients and users of technologies. So I think Justin and I really both agree there that we can't underscore enough the importance of forming those relationships, because it will help you both professionally and personally while you're in the center, but then also when you leave. And then the second point that I think is something you should never forget is that we are only as effective as we can only be effective if we can communicate effectively. So you may know the answer, but if you're unable to communicate that to people from multiple learner levels, you won't be seen as effective, or your findings won't be understood. So I think learning how to effectively communicate to various audiences clearly and with confidence is really important. So I do think students that are in the center currently and those that will be starting in the fall definitely need to think about forming relationships and being effective communicators.
Yeah, absolutely. Justin, I think you made a great point talking about how life is really interdisciplinary, and that's something that our students get to experience here. So I think that's a really, really cool learning experience. So our last question of the day, Justin, just a fun one, but what is your favorite GWHT memory?
Well, so Marley stole my thunder. There's no way to beat that. But I mean, the themes are exactly the same. So my absolute favorite memory are the people. I made lifelong friends in the lab. You kind of go through ups and downs together. And back then I didn't have like this kind of elastic cloud resources and cloud compute that I have now. So when I would run a simulation on my computer, it basically freezes up and then no work can be done.
Yeah.
And so then I used to joke that if my computer is working, then I'm also working. And so then I have like sort of the early lunch hour where I go with a bunch of friends, eat some lunch, and then we come back and say, oh, the simulation's still going. So let's have a second lunch. And then here's another crowd. So yep, 2 lunches in a day. So I haven't made it back to North Carolina lately, but if I'm in the Bay Area, if I'm in the Northeast, I absolutely make it a point to visit my friends from the lab. And it's been awesome seeing you today, Marley, and I just have really, really great memories of our kids playing together, and I can't believe they're all so big now. So
Yes, absolutely. I think another thing we didn't talk about that was really fun was, I think, the IM sports. So there were a few sports that our group played together. I think basketball, there was dodgeball. I think eventually, I don't know if you ever did volleyball, but we did volleyball as well. And so those were all just ways to bond with each other and get to know each other.
yeah. Yeah, I never played volleyball because you can't tell here, but I'm like, 3'9". Yeah, can't hit over the net, but no, we won some softball championships, so that was pretty fun.
That is pretty fun. That's great. Yeah, I love hearing that. Obviously, we're in pandemic times today, all working from home. I'm just really excited to get in the lab and see everyone and be together and maybe take 2 lunches. So thank you guys so much for being here today. To everyone watching at home, thank you so much for watching our Alumni Spotlight. We hope that you'll follow us on social media, continue watching as we produce more of these. So thank you again so much to our guests.